Hi everyone, as you know that decision making to install 5S is the first step of the preparatory phase, and we are going to discuss this step in detail. This step is further divided into 4 steps. Let's discuss one by one. After attending 5S basic training, TMT shall decide whether 5S shall be installed or not on the respective factory shop floor. Top management and a coordinator of 5S have to build consensus for installation. Point number 1. Proper timing to conduct briefing meeting. It is suggested that a briefing meeting should be conducted within 2 weeks after attending 5S basic training. Agendas will be explanation of 5S principles and effectiveness, and discussion for making a decision. The focal person has to convince the management team if he/she would like to succeed in the improvement of the factory shop floor by 5S. The commitment of top management is priming to passionate 5S installation, fuel to move the engine of 5S continuously, and also deterrence against opponents for 5S. Point number 2. Explanation of basic concepts and effectiveness of 5S activities. The 5S coordinator will explain what 5S principles are, and how 5S is effective for working improvement, with materials provided at 5S basic training. Awareness of the importance of 5S activities shall be increased among top management members. The table below shows an example of a briefing meeting. Point number 3. Building consensus. After an explanation by the coordinator, top management shall discuss whether 5S Kaizen TQM approaches are useful for improving the working environment or not. At the discussion, the effectiveness and expected outcomes of installing 5S should be clarified concretely. How 5S can contribute to improving working process/procedures such as administrative procedures, production procedures, quality control procedures, service delivery procedures, and so on. How 5S can contribute to reducing cost and time burden in working procedures. How 5S can contribute to preventing dangers, incidents, and accidents in working place. Point number 4. Necessary preparation for next steps. If the top management team decides to install 5S in its own plant, the next step is to develop an action plan by a 5S coordinator along with a lean practitioner and conduct a kickoff meeting. It is important to develop a schedule for those activities in the end of the meeting. Thanks for watching and see you again in the next lecture. Hi everyone, we are going to discuss 5S preparatory phase in this chapter, and this is already discussed in detail in last chapter. But this is hands-on tutorial for resource file documents. So let's start here. You can see this phase is further divided into 3 tasks. First one is decision making, and second is drafting action plan, and last one is kick of meeting. Let's move to next slide to discuss each task in detail. This is a preparatory phase and decision making is the first task. This is nothing but preparing meeting agenda for these listed points, and the 5S coordinator will present the action plan to top management and obtain their sign-off before moving forward. So top management commitment is primary to initiate 5S project. Let's move next slide. Here, as you can see, the wonderful animation with amazing thought. Thinking and doing things add value. Thinking but not doing things add no value. So, get approval from top management on the form attached to this chapter, as in resource field, and here I am scrolling this form as seeing on screen. Download it and start your project. There is a 2 template of project approval form. One is reference form, you can modify it as per your project requirement, and other one is the example form, and it will help to draft your 5S project approval form. Right. This is reference draft of 5S agenda file, the same you can download for your reference. This is an editable file, and you can modify this as per your need. It has a title section at the top that says 5S meeting agenda, followed by a table with 4 columns. The column headers are task, description, assigned to, and status. You can adjust the tasks and their descriptions to better reflect the specific needs of your 5S project. The status column can be updated throughout the meeting to reflect progress. Consider adding additional columns to the table if needed, such as completion date or notes, etc. Okay, so this an end of this first task of preparatory phase. Thanks for watching and see you again in next lecture. Hi everyone! Welcome back to this wonderful tutorial on 5S Preparatory Phase Step 2, which is the Drafting Action Plan. In this video, we will learn about the process of making an action plan for the 5S project. Action Plan Importance. A well-defined action plan is the foundation for a successful 5S implementation. It outlines the key tasks, activities, and timelines needed to achieve your goals. By creating a clear plan, you ensure everyone involved stays on track and understands their roles. Action Plan Approval. To initiate this task, the coordinator and management team members shall prepare an action plan for 5S implementation. The top management team needs to approve the plan before we move forward. The action plan is the factory's first draft and will be revised and elaborated further in the implementation phase. Action Plan Content Key Tasks. In the kickoff meeting, both the top management team and staff need to be familiar with the action plan's contents. Now, let's delve into the 7 key tasks that should be clearly described in your action plan. We'll explore them one by one. Task 1: Issues and Challenges of the Factory. Understanding these issues is crucial for creating effective data sheets throughout your 5S project. This task is further divided into 3 points, which are listed as Basic Information, Issues List, and Challenges List. Point number 1: Basic information of a factory. Here are a few examples of basic information you can collect and create documents for. Name and function of the department, for example, assembly department. Products or services provided by the department, for example, machining services. Layout of the department, floor plan diagram. Workflow of the department, step-by-step process flow. Point number 2: Issues that a factory is facing. Here are a few examples of issues that you can collect and create documents for. Safety hazards, for example, slippery floors in the paint booth. Quality issues, for example, incorrect part assembly. Production bottlenecks, for example, equipment breakdowns. Employee morale problems, for example, lack of communication. Disorganization and clutter, for example, unlabeled storage bins. Point number 3: Challenges that a factory will tackle. These will help you to collect and draft documents for your factory or facility's 5S project. Here are a few examples. How to improve safety, for example, implement slip-resistant mats. How to improve quality, for example, conduct employee training on proper assembly. How to increase efficiency, for example, schedule preventive maintenance for equipment. How to boost employee morale, for example, hold regular team meetings. How to create a more organized and clutter-free work environment, for example, implement a labeling system for storage. By addressing these points in your meeting for drafting an action plan, you can ensure that everyone involved has a clear understanding of the current state of the factory, facility, sections, department, and the goals of the 5S implementation.